Good evening. My name is Bob Chiaradio and I'm from Westerly, and I'm here to address the Westerly School Committee about a petition and a resolution regarding critical race theory being taught in our schools. We want the school committee to go on record and put this on their agenda for July to make sure that the pillars and tenets of critical race theory are not taught in Westerly Public Schools. Members of the school committee, as well as Mr. Garso, have said repeatedly that critical race theory is not being taught in our schools, nor do they feel it belongs in our schools. I agree that it doesn't belong in our schools. No critical race theory 101, but I've proven over the last 9 months that the tenets and pillars of critical race theory permeate Westerly Public Schools. In terms of curriculum, in terms of the implicit bias training which all teachers have been forced to endure as part of their professional development. Some examples. From an early elementary conflict resolution, I want the ball, which some of you may be familiar with, to a class offered for sophomores to teach them how to be good little demonstrators and social justice warriors, complete with all the critical race theory buzzwords of power, privilege, social justice, etc. To implicit teacher bias training, where our good teachers are themselves accused of being privileged if they are white, demeaned and threatened, if they resist, labeled a racist. The characteristics of critical race theory have polluted this district for quite a while now. The superintendent and assistant superintendent have been great at keeping it hidden from everyone until the curtain was pulled back on them last September. And it's going to get worse, a lot worse, and soon. Back in 2019, Senate Bill 0863 was signed into law by then Governor Raimondo, giving the incoming Education Commissioner, Angelica Infante Green, free rein and pushing down her racially radical, equitable curricula to each district in Rhode Island, with implementation dates beginning as early as next year. SO863 took away most, if not all, school committee authority for setting and approving district-wide curriculum, rendering school committees little more than budget-approving rubber stampers moving forward. At the school committee meeting 2 weeks ago, we were presented with the approved ELA curriculum by those on the curriculum committee, who are now charged with implementing and enforcing, under Infante Green's hand, the new ELA curriculum, which will be in effect, I believe, for the next 10 years. On that committee, among others, is our own assistant superintendent, Alicia Story, a teacher who teaches the above sophomores for social action class, and a former social studies department head, whom I and others consider radical leftist extremists. These people have no business being anywhere near a curriculum committee, in my view. New curriculum for social studies, math, and science are on their way also. I guarantee you that no one in this room, besides the people here in the front, had any idea this was coming. I know the superintendent and assistant superintendent knew, but kept it quiet so they could ram it through in order to collect the plethora of dollars they received in exchange from the state for implementing the ELA, Bill and Melinda Gates' own Odell curriculum. But it's all about the kids, right? I'm going to give you an option, though. In Senate Bill 0863, the district may opt out and devise its own curriculum, foregoing that of Angelica Infante Green. Here's my suggestion. Opt out and form a subcommittee made up of a representative cross-section of Westerly residents to make improvements in the current curricula of today's core subjects. The subcommittee will report to the school committee, who will work with a cross-section of teachers to make the necessary improvements. This would be a true community-based effort and would unite rather than divide this town in an effort to truly begin serving our kids. A phrase often overused by many in the front of this room. I implore the school committee to rescind its vote in consensus to approve the new ELA curriculum in favor of the plan I have outlined here. This also gives members of the school committee, as well as the superintendent, the chance to truly demonstrate that their words that critical race theory does not belong in our schools don't ring hollow, and that the 2,724 students in this district are their first priority. I have a resolution, and I will be emailing this to everybody up front tonight when I get home, along with a petition, which I will, once they're all in, all the signatures are here, I'll be presenting them live signatures to whomever I'm supposed to present them to. The resolution, the petition read as follows. It's a petition to the Westerly School Committee to incorporate a resolution relating to education and curriculum. We, the undersigned, hereby request the attached resolution relating to education and curriculum be placed on the school committee agenda within the next 30 days for discussion and approval. We are concerned that despite assurances to the contrary, the Westerly School curriculum is at risk of becoming structured in a manner that results in the indoctrination of our students with radical social concepts. We believe in fair and balanced education that represents our youth with all the facts and provides them with the tools to critically evaluate life situations without the fear of judgment, retribution, or public scapegoating. We also believe that codifying the subject resolution will result in reduced distraction to the school committee and faculty and allow greater focus on the fundamental curricula necessary for our youth to succeed professionally and socially in the real world. Now I will read the resolution. Take the messenger out of this and listen to the words. Westerly Public Schools hereby prohibits the teaching of divisive concepts to any of its students, teachers, or other staff employed in any of its schools or offices, including the following. One race or sex is superior to another race or sex. The town of Westerly, the state of Rhode Island, and the United States of America are fundamentally and systemically racist or sexist. An individual, by virtue of his or her race or sex, is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive, whether consciously or subconsciously. An individual should be discriminated against or receive adverse treatment based solely or partly on his or her race or sex. An individual's moral character is necessarily determined by his or her race or sex. An individual, by virtue of his or her race or sex, bears responsibility for actions committed in the past by other members of the same race or sex. Meritocracy, or traits such as hard work, work ethic, grit, and accountability are racist or sexist, or were created by a particular race to oppress another. The success or failure of an individual is due to his race and only to race. In reference to the above, divisive concepts include any form of racial or sexual stereotyping or any other form of racial or sexual scapegoating. Racial or sexual stereotyping means assigning character traits, values, moral and ethical codes, privileges, status, or beliefs to a race or sex, or to an individual because of his or her race or sex. Racial or sexual scapegoating means assigning fault, blame, or bias to a race or sex, or to members of a race or sex because of one's race or sex, and similarly encompasses any claim that any particular race or sex is responsible for the destiny, success, or failure of another race or sex.
Excuse me, Mr. Chiaradio.
I'm almost finished.
We've approached 10 minutes again.
Almost done. All state and municipal contracts, grants, and training programs entered into after the effective date of this resolution shall include provisions banning the teaching of divisive concepts to students, teachers, staff, or anyone else under the district's employ. This resolution also prohibits in the strongest possible manner any teacher from imposing his or her political beliefs upon his or her students, and for singling out, shaming, silencing, or disciplining any student for his or her political beliefs should they differ from those of the teacher, principal, assistant superintendent, or superintendent. Any and all political beliefs in a classroom must be presented with all sides and opinions represented, and no student may be forced or coerced under the First Amendment into adopting the viewpoints of another or those of the teacher. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage. Again, I will send this via email to you all this evening. And I'd like it on an upcoming agenda, the July agenda. Thank you.